Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. On this week's program, we begin a two-part series with Dr. Roger McEowen from the Washburn School of Law. It's the top 10 developments in agricultural legal actions in 2020. This week, number 10 through 6. We'll also have features from Kansas Corn, Kansas Wheat, and the Kansas Farm Bureau in our weekly updates from the Kansas Livestock Association and market information from Pinion, a division of K-Coe Isom. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farm and ranch families since 1919, KFB.org. And the Kansas Wheat Commission, lending in the adoption of profitable innovations from wheat, online at kswheat.com. In ag news from agview.net, the latest World Agriculture Supply and Demand report was released this week, and it lowered ending stocks for corn and soybeans, but increased expected export sales. In the report, corn exports will raise 50 million bushels, reflecting historically large purchases by China. Now, with no other use changes, USDA did lower corn ending stocks 50 million bushels as a result. The season average corn price was raised 10 cents to $4.30 a bushel. Meanwhile, soybean exports are projected at 2.25 billion bushels, up 20 million from last month, reflecting record high marketing year exports through January and a slow start to Brazil's export season. Now, with the soybean crush unchanged, soybean ending stocks will reduce 20 million bushels to 120 million. Now, if that's realized, soybean ending stocks will be down 77% from the 2019-20 marketing year and the lowest since 2013-14 year. The U.S. season average soybean price for 2020-21 forecast $11.15 a bushel, unchanged from a month ago. And the supply and demand outlook for wheat largely unchanged in the latest report. And U.S. pork exports reached nearly 3 million metric tons in 2020, topping the 2019 record by 11%. That according to the U.S. Meat Export Federation. Pork export value also climbed 11% to a record $7.71 billion. Exports set new annual records in China and Hong Kong, Central America, Vietnam, and Chile, and achieved strong fourth quarter growth in Japan and Mexico. By the way, U.S. beef exports finished 2020 lower year over year, falling 5% in both volume at 1.25 million metric tons and value at $7.65 billion. More ag news at agview.net. Stay with us, more in a moment. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future at kansascorn.com. Again for the Ag in the Courtroom, and Dr. Roger McEowen from Washburn School of Law. He is an ag law and taxation professor. Dr. McEowen, always great to catch up with you. It's hard to believe we're already into another month.
Yeah, January's gone, and we're in the fifth week of the year already. It's incredible.
Well, Dr. McEowen, last month when we talked about the not quite top 10 list of activities that went on, kind of ag developments in the legal ease. Yeah. So let's get to the top 10 list, and let's start out with number 10.
Yeah, number 10 on my list, Ken, is the announcement that was made in the middle of 2020 that the Department of Justice was going to investigate the meat packers. And this is at the request of 11 state attorneys general across the country. And what they were looking at was that the four largest beef processors control right at 80% of the U.S. beef processing. And they were looking at prices, and they noticed that boxed beef prices had recently more than doubled, while live cattle prices had dropped approximately 20% over the same time frame. Now, that doesn't mean that we have violation of any antitrust law or Packers and Stockyards Act. Could be economic conditions, but at least they were calling for a look into this. So if there's anything that comes out of that investigation, that could be very positive to livestock producers as well as consumers throughout the nation. But I would just remind people that investigations into the meatpacking industry actually started back in the 1880s, and we're about 135, almost 140 years down the road from those. So it's kind of more of the same, but that could be a big development. That's why I park it at number 10.
Well, that's a big one. So that means the rest of them must be big as well. So what about number 9?
9, I've got conservation easements here. This is a popular tax technique for landowners. It's popular in Kansas with the Kansas Land Trust and other types of organizations like that, for which you can donate a perpetual easement on your land to a qualified charity. You can still continue to farm it, graze it, but you get a nice tax deduction for the value of that easement, and basically the difference in value of your land without the restriction compared to the value of your land with the restriction. The reason I have this at number 9 is that there are over presently 150 of these cases at the U.S. tax court. The IRS challenges the deductions that are claimed in these cases. They do not like the whole concept of conservation easements. And so they pick at the corners on these, and you've got to dot every I and cross every T and make sure your deed language is absolutely precisely correct in accordance with the existing Treasury regulations, because the IRS examines every one of these and they will litigate. And I just saw 2 more of these this past week. So there's a lot of trouble with these, although it can be a very beneficial tax provision for people. You just have to be very, very careful.
We're talking with Dr. Roger McEowen. He is an ag law and taxation professor at Washburn. We're starting in this top 10 of developments with the ag and the courtroom series. Let's take a break, come back with more in just a moment. The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. And agview.net, serving the Beef Belt and Western Corn Belt with reliable and relevant agriculture information. agview.net. Doing makes 2-parter, so we'll have some more time. So we'll probably do, whatever 10 through 6 or 5, and then do, because the top, where we're going, the top 4, you could probably spend a couple minutes on each, especially the top 4, don't you think?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm trying to fit it with whatever you give me.
Right. Okay, so we'll come back with 8 and 8. Mm-hmm. 8 and 7 at least, and see where we are. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Part 2 in 3, 2, 1. And our guest is Dr. Roger McEowen. We are going through his top 10 list of actions that took place in 2020, and this is going to, there's a lot of stuff going on. So we're actually going to extend this on another week as well, just to get everything in, because we want to make sure there's plenty of time. So when we took the break, I think we're now up to number 8.
Yeah, Ken. Number 8, I have an important case out of the federal district court in the District of Columbia that occurred just after Thanksgiving in 2020, and it's called the telematch case. And what it involves is the question of how much of the data that a farmer shares with USDA, say for purposes of participating in federal farm programs, how much of that's actually available to public inspection under a Freedom of Information Act request. And we had an important decision that protected a lot of that data. USDA had a request to release this to this company known as Telematch, and they refused to release a lot of the data. And the reason they did so is because they said, well, it's private in certain respects, because it identifies particular farmers and farm locations, and by number it identifies them. And there are some exceptions to FOIA requests. And if it would be an invasion of privacy, USDA does not have to release those records. And the court upheld the USDA's refusal in this instance, saying they properly withheld customer numbers from disclosure because it would have been an invasion of personal privacy. So you have to fit within one of those exemptions, and they did in this instance. That case is on appeal, so we'll see that one in 2021.
Well, these are all big. So what about number 7?
Well, 7 deals with the Natural Resource Conservation Service. In 2020, they came up with a final rule on the conservation provisions of the 1985 Farm Bill. And in that, they explained how they will tweak their procedures for identifying wetlands, known as the delineation process, and how they determine those and certify those on land. Because that's an issue of whether you're eligible or ineligible for USDA Farm Program benefits. They also dealt with the issue of best drain condition, and I take some issue with actually what they were saying here. I'm not sure that they're actually complying with a federal court opinion back a little over 20 years ago in a case coming out of the 8th Circuit in 1999. I still don't think they are complying with that, but delineations and determining what best drain condition is, because the landowner is entitled to that, the historic drainage on their property. So that's a big one in terms of regulatory aspects and the ability to participate in farm programs. Those rules are very important.
Okay, before we wrap up this segment, let's do number 6.
6 is what I call a dormant commerce clause case. It's a 9th Circuit opinion involving the National Animal Meat Institute. What this deals with is a problem that California has been giving us for about the past decade. And that is, California's got this proposition initiative referendum process out there. And sometimes they get some silly things. And what they've had over the past few years through that process are rules that say if you want to sell ag products such as eggs, poultry, veal cuts to our consumers in California, then you have to raise them in the way that we want you to raise them. You've got to raise the chickens in certain size cages, so forth and so on. So to get access to their market, they're dictating the manner of the agricultural practices in Iowa or Missouri or Kansas or wherever. And there was a challenge to that under the Dormant Commerce Clause saying, well, you can't do that. You can't basically tell us how we're going to regulate our own industry in our state. That's our business. The 9th Circuit upheld them, Ken. They said that that's not a Dormant Commerce Clause violation. Those cases continue, so that's going to be an issue that's still going to be there in 2021. That's a big one. And you may recall a number of years ago, there was an attempt to put language in the Farm Bill that would block a state from doing something like that, but it never made it through.
We're talking with Dr. Roger McEowen, and we're going to hold him over for next week's program as we talk about his top 10 list of developments, agriculture, when it comes from the legal standpoint. So stay with us. Roger McEowen will be back with us next week. So we'll have more in just a moment.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well on their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, and we're glad to answer it and work with you.
Hi, this is Sharon Thielen, Director of Education for Kansas Corn, and this is your Kansas Corn Update. Kansas Corn STEM has done a great job of supporting teachers across the state the last 4 years, averaging around 1,200 teachers using our resources. We're very excited that this spring we're going to roll out a new program called the Kansas Corn We Grow Corn Library Series, focused on public libraries. We created a We Grow Corn book about 4 years ago, and our focus now is getting that book not only in our schools, but now into our public libraries. We know public libraries are trying to get students and people from the community into their building, and so we have broken this book down into 6 different segments, providing snacks, different activities, videos, all educating people about how we grow corn in Kansas and how agriculture plays a big role in the economy of Kansas. So any of you that have a public library in your community, we really encourage you to visit wegrowcorn.com and get your library excited about incorporating education about corn in their library program.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Kansas wheat leaders Justin Knopf and Kyler Miller-Shasky and K-State wheat breeder Alan Fritz shared their stories in the new film Wholesome, The Journey of U.S. Wheat. U.S. Wheat Associates produced the 25-minute film to demonstrate how the passion, purpose, and investments by the people in the wheat industry are integral to the commodity's reputation as the world's most reliable wheat. Alan Fritz discussed how wheat breeding programs, like that at Kansas State University, work to develop and release wheat varieties that help farmers address production constraints and meet specific wheat food needs to bring healthy, nutritious food to the table. He said, what we are doing is taking the opportunity with the natural genes that we already have to put those together in a package that is the healthiest and the best for the environment that we possibly can. Justin Knopf, a 5th-generation farmer and president of the Kansas Association of Wheat Growers, discussed how wheat farmers monitor the crop throughout the growing season, emphasizing how farmers take great care in choosing what products to apply to their fields. He said consumers can be confident we've done our due diligence at making those responsible decisions and weighing the trade-offs when utilizing products on our farm. Kyler Miller-Shasky, a 3rd-generation farmer, also emphasized how Kansas farmers are proud to produce an abundant supply of high-quality wheat generation after generation. He said, as a farmer and as a wheat grower specifically, there's a certain responsibility and a weight that you feel to not only provide a high-quality product, but enough of it to feed the world. We want to have the bragging rights that, hey, we've got the best wheat in the world, buy from us.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Nearly 40% of rural Americans lack access to broadband, compared to just 4% of urbanites.
For me as a teacher, there's a couple families that, even though our county, where I teach, had offered free internet access to all families where possible, we had a couple families that did not have any access to internet due to their geographic location. One parent that had 4 kids, and they're trying to bring their kids into town to bump Wi-Fi where it's free or at their businesses to try to get their kids through their education. I think it makes it tough because right now they're saying in order to meet guidelines, whether schools are in person or online, that they're going to have to log those minutes in the classroom virtually. Well, if those kids don't have access to internet or decent internet, how are they supposed to log those minutes? So I mean, there is plans in place, so if we have to go back to virtual education, that we are prepared. And even though parents and kids are prepared, their Wi-Fi is not.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need. From prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Supply.
The Masters of Beef Advocacy program has revamped its advocacy training modules. MBA Next Gen updates the popular MBA training modules, making it even easier for a new generation of farmers and ranchers to advocate for the beef industry. The program continues to be a free, self-guided online course that provides farmers, ranchers, service providers, students, consumers, and all members of the beef community the tools and resources to become a beef advocate and answer tough questions about beef and raising cattle. MBA Next Gen consists of 5 lessons focused on the beef community: raising cattle on grass, life in the feed yard, beef processing, and the important role beef plays in a healthy diet. The MBA program started in 2009, and to date there are more than 15,000 graduates. Once the lessons are completed, advocates gain access to a variety of continuing education resources ranging from online courses that delve deeper into topics such as beef sustainability and nutrition to in-person top advocate training and more. Graduates also can join the MBA Alumni Facebook group where they can ask questions and access the latest advocacy resources. To enroll or find out more about the MBA Next Gen program, visit beefitswhatsfordinner.com.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Hello, I'm Aaron with Pinion Ag, and I'm here to talk about the cash grain markets. We are seeing corn bases hold strong and firm up in some areas around the middle of the country. Kansas City and the surrounding areas have seen some basis improvement in the past few weeks. End users such as Springdale markets continue to remain relatively strong. As we get further into the spring and summer, I would look to see basis get very strong based on thoughts that there's not much corn that remains in the producer's hands on farm. Feedlots have been less interested in more nearby values and are looking into the deferred months as they are fairly bought up for the moment. As with corn, bean basis considerably stronger than we have seen compared to this time frame in previous years. Similar to corn, I would look to see basis improve as we get into the spring and summer. It looks like South America is having a record production, but it looks like a good majority of that crop is priced. New crop bean basis has plenty of room to improve going forward, so I would be hesitant to sell in basis that far out. Wheat basis for harvest is relatively strong right now and may not be a bad idea to have some percentage of your harvest sold at this point. We do not know what protein premiums look like for the summer, but keep it in mind to know that your proteins are and take advantage of that if premiums exist. Milo basis continues to scream if anyone is still holding on to any. For now, new crop basis is strong as well, and it might not be a bad idea to get some new crop Milo priced while the pricing is good. A strong Milo market is contingent on strong Chinese demand, and if we have learned anything from the past years in Milo basis, that demand could change overnight and Milo basis could plummet, leaving producers with a glut of low-priced Milo. If you have any questions or are looking for help getting values on your grain or are wanting other selling advice, give us a shout at 888-452-8751.
Well, that's our show this week. Be social with us at kansasagreport.net or on our social media platforms. Continue to be Kansas strong. Take care of those outside critters. Stay warm. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for watching the Kansas Ag Report. See you next week.